If God created us, then who created God? It's a question that has puzzled thinkers for centuries, from ancient philosophers to modern scientists. Before I answer it, subscribe to the True God, because here we speak from enlightenment, not opinion. We reveal what the world has missed for centuries. This is not about what humans believe about God. This is about the God who exists, with or without belief. Thank you. Okay, the question, who created God, assumes that God is like a thing, a being, or a character with a beginning, just like everything else we see around us. But that assumption is fundamentally flawed. God is not a being. God is being itself. Not a creator among other things, but the source behind all things, including the very basic ideas of space, time, and cause. In other words, God is not something that exists in reality. God is what makes existence possible in the first place. So asking, who created God, is like asking, what's north of the North Pole? Or what created the source of creation? The question collapses on itself because it tries to apply the rules of created things to the uncreated source. Let's dive deeper. The root of the confusion. Most people, whether religious or not, picture God as some kind of ultimate person, somewhere out there, who made the universe the way a watchmaker builds a watch. Even many believers say, God created the universe, and leave it at that. But when you really think about it, this image is just a projection of the human mind. It imagines God as just a bigger version of us. Powerful, eternal maybe, but still something that exists in time, still something that had to begin existing at some point. And so the question naturally follows, well then, who made him? But here's the truth. Everything in this universe, the planets, the atoms, your body, your thoughts, they all exist within time and space. They all come and go. They are born and they die. That is the nature of created things. But God is not a created thing. God is not in time. God is what time depends on. God is not a product of cause and effect. God is the ground of cause and effect itself. So to ask who created God is like asking, what caused the cause of all causes? It's a misunderstanding of what God actually is. Okay now, what is God actually? To understand the answer, we need to ask a better question. What do we actually mean by God? Not the God of religion, not the God of myth, but the God that exists with or without our beliefs. That God is not male or female, not old or young, not in a place, not in time, not made of matter, not subject to change. That God doesn't come from anywhere because where is part of creation. God doesn't begin or end because beginning and end are part of time. And God doesn't need to be explained by something else because God is the source of all explanations. To put it simply, God is not something that exists within the universe. The universe exists within God. But even that is misleading because we tend to think of space as a container. But God isn't a container. God is prior to all containers, categories, and dimensions. God is the infinite reality in which everything arises, exists, and dissolves. Not a being, but being itself. Not a cause, but the unconditioned source of all cause and effect. Enlightened insight. The mind can't contain God. The reason most people struggle with this idea is simple. The human mind can only understand things by comparison. We understand light by contrast with dark, up by contrast with down, big by contrast with small, and cause by contrast with effect. But God has no opposite. God is not part of a pair. God is not relative. God is absolute. So when the mind tries to imagine who created God, it's like a fish trying to imagine what water is without ever having left it, or a shadow asking, where did the light come from, without ever stepping into it. Your mind was not designed to grasp the unconditioned source, but your being can, not through thinking, but through direct realization, through inner silence, through awakening. When that happens, you no longer think of God as a thing that needs a beginning. You recognize God as the groundless ground of all that is, the pure, formless, timeless reality that gives birth to time, to form, to worlds. And in that moment, the question disappears. Truth reveal. So let's come back to the question. If God created us, then who created God? The best answer is this. Nothing created God because God is not created. God is not a product of something else. God is the reality in which all things, including your question, appear. Time, space, form, thought, these are not things that exist outside of God. They arise within God. And that includes the idea of a beginning, or a creator, or a cause. The real God, the true God, is uncreated because God is not one thing among others. God is the foundation of all being, not a character in the universe, but the infinite presence in which the universe lives and moves and has its being. In this way, God is not before the universe in time, but prior to it in essence. And that changes everything. Transformative conclusion. Then you can ask me, does it matter who God is? Yes, it does. Here's why this matters. Because once you understand that God is not a being, but being itself, then your relationship with God transforms. You stop looking for God as if God is somewhere else. You stop asking when God began, as if God is part of time. You stop needing proof, as if God were an idea. And you begin to awaken to what's always been true. That is, God is here, now, everywhere and always. You understand that everything you see, everything you feel, and everything you are emerges from this source. And it's not far away. It's not hidden. It's not theoretical. It is your own existence. The stillness beneath every sound. The presence behind every form. The awareness looking through your eyes. This is the truth the religions pointed to, but never fully revealed. This is the truth that no book can contain. And this is why the question who created God no longer holds power. It dissolves in the light of real understanding. Because once you see what God is, you stop asking where God came from, and you start realizing that you come from God. Right now, and always. If that truth speaks to something deep inside you, subscribe to the true God. This channel exists to speak what others cannot say. To point beyond religion, beyond science, beyond belief, to the actual God. The God who exists with or without your faith. The God who is not in time, but beyond it. Here, we don't play with ideas. We awaken to truth. If you're ready for that, you've found the right place. Welcome to the true God. We're just getting started.